Welcome to Land of the Bible. I'm your host, David Sussman. This week, we're going to explore the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights, one of the most beautiful areas in all of Israel, situated in the northeastern corner of Israel along the border of Syria. It's really relatively small. It's only 80 kilometers long and roughly 20 kilometers wide. However, it packs a big punch. There are so many beautiful national parks here that relate to our historical connection to the land. Whether it's Gamla, one of the sites where the Great Revolt against Rome took place, or Banyas, which is also known as Caesarea Philippi, or the military installations that dot this region. The Golan Heights is a majestic place, and I can't wait to take you along as we visit some of the great sites here in the Golan. In the year 1009, the Christian world was shaken to its core. The Egyptian ruler of the Fatimid dynasty, the Caliph al-Hakim, ordered his troops to Jerusalem in order to destroy the Church of the Sepulchre, believed by many Christians, even today, to be the location where Jesus would be executed and, according to Christian theology, resurrected. However, some people didn't look at al-Hakim as a tyrant, but rather as something, well, more divine. They turned him into the manifestation of God himself. They even believed that he didn't die, but rather went into some sort of concealment in the year 1021, and that he'll come back for a second coming at the end of days. The Druzees spread throughout the Middle East, and al-Hakim still plays a central role as a primary figure in the Druze faith. However, much of their religion is really secretive and only revealed to the initiated. Today here in Israel, we have roughly 150,000 Druze living here. Roughly 20,000 of them live here in the Golan Heights, in towns and villages like the one you can see behind me, known as Migdal Shams. The Druzees have sworn a loyalty to the state of Israel or any country that they live in, and they even serve in the military over here and become an integral fabric of the state of Israel. Just above Migdal Shams, the Tower of the Sun, the highest residential neighborhood here on Mount Hermon, is Israel's only ski resort. What we're going to do right now is we're going to head up to the top of the mountain, taking their chairlift, which takes about 10-12 minutes to ascend roughly 400-500 meters above where we are right now. There's not just a chairlift though, they also have a gun. So come with me as we head up to the top and enjoy some of these incredible views. So when people think of Israel, usually they think of the desert, and for good reasons. It only rains here 6 months out of the year, but 60% of Israel is in fact a desert. The last thing people think about when they think of Israel is skiing. And yet, here on Mount Hermon, the top of this chairlift, sure enough, we have a ski resort. The Hermon isn't just a ski resort. It's not a place to come to just during the wintertime, but rather, this is open all year round. In the Golan Heights, we have all 4 seasons here, from fall, winter, spring, and summer. And probably one of the best times to come here is right after the rainy season, or here the snowy season, when the snow begins to melt and the rains are kind of leaving the area for the next 6 months. And everything here is green, wildflowers, and some of the indigenous plants here you can only find on Mount Hermon. So you can come skiing in the winter, mountain biking in the summer, and hiking in the spring and fall. The peak of Mount Hermon. Unbelievable standing up here. We're above the clouds. It's like cruising through the northern part of Israel in an airplane. Standing 3,000 meters, nearly 10,000 feet above sea level. The Hermon here is known as the Eyes of the Nation, the tallest peak here in the land of Israel. Behind me, going off in this direction, you'll be able to see the entire Upper Galilee and into Lebanon. We're right along the border of Lebanon right now. In fact, on a clear day, you can see clear straight right across Lebanon and the Mediterranean Sea. And on the other side of this mountain, you're staring down onto Syria. And even just 36 miles from where we are right now is the capital of Syria, the city of Damascus. This area over here, biblically speaking, was the northern border of the Israelite kingdom. However, in modern times, this is the border of Syria and Lebanon. This whole region is just absolutely stunning. For many Christians, the Hermon also has a deep spiritual connection, as it is here that they believe that the story of Jesus' transfiguration takes place. Traditionally, it was in Mount Tabor in the lower Galilee. However, in modern times, most biblical scholars believe that the story would have taken place here, as Jesus, who brings the disciples Peter, James, and Mark to Caesarea Philippi, a city at the base of the Hermon. And the next story is the Transfiguration, where Jesus would ascend a large mountain, and there his face would transform into the sun, and his clothes would become a dazzling white, and next to him would appear none other than Moses and Elijah. For them, this was a telltale sign that Jesus was in fact the Son of God, and even God himself. Wow, hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, heading up to the top of Mount Hermon to enjoy those spectacular views. Let's head now to see the rest of the Golan Heights.
Imagine walking where Jesus walked, where faith comes to life. Feel the Bible story unfold around you, from the green Galilee to Jerusalem's ancient streets. Experience the serene and welcoming land of the Bible, where miracles happen. Put your heart where his footsteps are. Visit Israel.
One of the popular places to visit here in the Golan is Mount Ben Tal. It's an old Israeli bunker that was liberated, conquered, whatever you want to call it, in 1967 and was used during the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Today, it's no longer used in active service, making it available for people who want to run through the trenches and see the bunker where battles were fought. A great way of exploring this region is also by taking a Jeep tour or ATVing, where you get to be behind the wheel as you traverse these old extinct volcanoes. Or if you're the type to enjoy more natural setting, using wildlife as your mode of transportation, there's some great horseback riding that is offered in this region as well. You can see behind me, here we are in the beginning of autumn as everything's starting to take this golden hue. But all the seasons are amazing here. In the wintertime, you could hike here in the Golan along rushing streams and see some incredibly beautiful waterfalls that make you feel like you're in Hawaii, not really in Israel. Or in the springtime when all of the orchards you can see all around the Golan, the farming comes in blossom, and the fragrances between the orchards and the wildflowers here is truly intoxicating. Of course, summer is the most popular time to visit here, when people like to go hiking and just touring all over this majestic landscape. And what makes it so beautiful, what makes the soil so incredible, is the fact that the Golan Heights has nearly 60 extinct volcanoes. All the rock around here is volcanic rock, which is extremely rich in nutrients. So when it turns into soil, well, you better believe it, things go really well out here. However, a lot of people come here in order to look at the border. One of the places that they'll visit is the Ronen overlook, known as Mitzpe Ronen. And you can see behind me over here, you can actually see the border. And just off in the distance where the trees are is the old Syrian village of Quneitra. This wasn't just a small village. This was the heart of Syrian Golan. And in fact, a lot of the Syrian military was positioned here. In 1967, those Syrian forces that were there fled in fear of the Israeli IDF, which over the course of 2 days was able to ascend and push back this Syrian military. They abandoned the village, and when we signed a ceasefire agreement with them, they rebuilt Quneitra, not in the area of the ruins you can see behind me, but just a little bit off into the distance, which in the heyday had about 80,000 people, all connected with the Syrian military living there. However, in the most recent war after October 7th, that city is nearly completely abandoned. Today, this is a beautiful overlook where you can look into Syria and learn all about the geopolitics in this area. Why is the Golan so important historically to the Jewish people? Well, we know that this area was known as the Bashan in the Bible. But later on, during the Second Temple period, during the Hashmonean period, after the story of Hanukkah, Jews began to settle here in the Golan en masse. One of the famous places was an area known as Gamla. Gamla is where the first battle in the Great Revolt took place between the Jewish rebels and the Empire of Rome. So here in the Golan, over 40 Jewish villages have been discovered thus far. There may be more. And some of these villages, 37 of them, almost all of them, had a synagogue located inside. And they had oil presses and vineyards and places to make wine. But one thing they all required was a living source of water. Look at the stones. This is basalt, volcanic rock. It is extremely hard to carve out cisterns, man-made caves, in order to trap rainwater, which is done in the limestone that is abundant throughout Israel. However, here in the Golan, very difficult to do that. People want to live near a stream or a spring. So here in Ein, which is Hebrew for a spring, Kshatot, which is rainbows, and if you look at these beautiful arches, which by the way, these arches actually date back to the Roman period. The Romans built these arches in order to glorify the spring that was here. And in this spring, they bleached linen for fabrics that were sold all throughout Israel and to the aristocracy, making Ein Kshatot one of the wealthier neighborhoods, villages, communities here in the Golan. So let's now head over to the synagogue, which is absolutely unbelievable, and I guarantee you are going to love it. Let's go. The synagogue here in Ein Kshatot is one of the most remarkable ones in all of Israel. Dating back 1,500 years ago, it was discovered by Lawrence Oliphant in the 19th century. However, it laid in ruins for another 120 years. When researchers who came here found this pile of stones believed to be one of the ancient synagogues here in the Golan, and they scanned each stone and put it into a computer program that literally rebuilt the synagogue digitally. Then they took the digital blueprint, the actual stones, which they put tiny little microchips inside, and they reconstructed the synagogue so that we can explore it and learn from it today. Wow, this is absolutely amazing. This is literally maybe the most beautiful synagogue I've been into, ancient synagogue, here in the Golan Heights. The community that lived here must have used so much of their financial resources just to build it. I mean, this isn't simple stone to carve. As I mentioned before, this is basalt. Basalt is not easy to carve, and they made such intricate designs on the capitals, and most archaeologists believe that there was even a second story to this structure. And look over here, you have the original benches that surrounded the entire synagogue, so that when the community came together, everyone, or at least the elderly, would sit on the benches while the younger folks would sit on the floor. And what was the main purpose of the synagogue? Well, I have to remember, the temple was destroyed. Originally, when the temple stood, we prayed to God, but we didn't have like a set, organized type of prayer. Prayer as we know it today in the Jewish religion, when we go to synagogue and pray 3 times a day, was instituted as a replacement to the sacrifices we used to offer in the temple. Back in the day, sure, people came here to pray, but you came here in order to learn the words of the Torah. Come here, what we say Kriyas Torah in Hebrew, for reading the Torah and learning the wisdom that's been passed down from generation to generation since the days of Abraham, the days of the Exodus, and from the days of Mount Sinai, when we received that wisdom from God Almighty. Come, check it out over here. Let me just show you. Right down the center part here in the synagogue, you have maybe the most beautiful, what we say Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark. This is where the Torah scroll would be housed until people would take it out to learn from right here. Look at the design on the floor. Can you see this design on the floor? This little circle here marks the exact center of the building. And this is where people would bring the Sefer Torah in order to read and to learn from. But it would be housed in a special closet. Even to this day, literally 1,500 years later, Jews around the world in their synagogues house the Torah scroll in a special ark known as the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark. And you come in here, beautiful arch, but the most intricate, beautiful, chiseled out decorations on the pillars here. And significantly, what you can see on this side over here as I wrap around is you have the menorah, the 7-branch menorah that stood in the temple in Jerusalem, both during the first temple and the second temple. And these are symbols of redemption, because even though the temple was destroyed, we long to be able to rebuild it just like we still do today. We may have the land of Israel in our control, Jerusalem's in our control, but we are still lacking our holy temple. And please God, may it be rebuilt in all of our days. Excavations are ongoing here in Ein Kshatot. And in this area where archaeologists are digging right now, they not only discovered ruins from the Jewish village that existed here 1,500 years ago, but even the Roman period, which predates that village by at least 300 years. And what they think they found over here is a bathhouse that was used by Roman soldiers that were stationed in the Golan Heights. And check this out. On the wall, you can still see some of the original plaster that dates back nearly 1,800 years ago. You know, we come around here and we see these beautiful basalt black stones and we say, hey, they had some beautiful homes here. But the people who lived here were bored of black stones. Everywhere you look is black stones. Inside, everything would have been plastered, and many of them would have been painted on top of it, known as a fresca. So when you came inside of a building, it was absolutely stunning, both during the Roman period and later on, even more so, during the Jewish period. If the archaeology here wasn't enough, Ein Kshatot also has an incredible reception, with a view of the ruins on display that have been discovered here, as well as a multimedia presentation that talks about the discovery of the area as well as the rebuilding of the synagogue.
I will bless those who bless you, God promised Abraham. Embrace this covenant by connecting with the people of Israel. From Jerusalem's stones to Galilee's shores, experience living faith through their traditions and hospitality. Your journey is more than visiting biblical sites. It's about hearts that welcome your friendship. Your presence matters. Discover Israel.
In 2019, President Donald J. Trump recognized Israel's sovereignty over the Golan Heights. As we mentioned, Israel captured the Golan in 1967 during a war that became known as the Six-Day War, where in 6 days, Israel was able to capture the entire Sinai Desert, the entire areas of Judea and Samaria, and then finally, on the last 2 days, captured the Golan, where the Syrian armed forces were bombarding the residential communities of Israel located in the Hula Valley, an eye shot from where I'm standing right now. As a token of gratitude, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu named this area to be built as a community named Trump Heights. Today, Trump Heights is in the midst of a construction boom. Behind me, you can see the beginning stages where dozens of new homes will be built for families who want to see the Golan thrive in the future as we continue to grow and expand the economic development in this area. Let's now meet one of the residents here to find out what it's like to live in Trump Heights.
Okay, my name is Daniel Bieber. I am 31 years old. I live here for 4.5 years with my family. I'm married to Sofit. We have 2 little children. I work as a content writer and I study my MA degree in Holocaust Studies in Haifa University. I've been living here for 4.5 years. Right after this place was established, me and my wife was just looking for a place to live, to build our life, and we thought it was a good idea. It was established as a mixed settlement of religious and non-religious people, and we liked the idea as a couple that came from different backgrounds. So we decided to take the chance and come to this place. Most of all the people here, they are very open people that like us want to live here, to build a new place in Israel, a new spot on the map in Israel, beautiful spot. and build also a community with the values of cooperation, of living together, and we think it's very important. Yeah, we act like a modern pioneer. I think first of all, as I said, this is our ideology. I came from a non-religious background, from a secular house, and she is from Jerusalem, from a religious house. And we knew from the beginning that we want to build our life in a place that accept each other equally, and where we can raise our children. I think that Trump Heights, the name yeah, it has a political weight maybe, but it's also an opportunity. Trump's story, it's part of our story. It's not just a name.
Next week on Land of the Bible, we explore the powerful stories of the women who shaped our destiny. Their choices changed history, and their legacies continue to shape who we are today. Thanks for tuning in this week as we explored the Golan Heights, from the past with the archaeological ruins at Ein Kshatot to the majestic peaks of Mount Hermon and the new community of Trump Heights. We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you'll tune in next week as we connect you to the people, places, and lands of the Bible.